The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD, presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. My name is Paul Solano of the PS&L Marketing Group, and this is season number 2, show number 4. It's happening right now. I'm excited to bring you another great season with my network of very knowledgeable contributors. We will continue to keep it real, hot and timely, South Shore and Cape and the Islands based, North Shore reference, but definitely full of Paul pondering thoughts. And Happy New Year to one and all. Happy and healthy. And as you probably already know, I also wear another hat as General Manager of Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden. And a huge shout out to Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick and his culinary team. Chef Felipe is a loyal listener through the Odyssey app. So hello to Chef Felipe. And as always, we have lots of activity at Pearl Street Station. I know I always say it, but it is true. And it's Malden's longest running restaurant of 40 years. We have incredible staying power in the greater Boston area and the North Shore. Please venture over the Zakin Bridge and visit us. And Chef Felipe, that sopa de pollo, that Jewish penicillin, that chicken soup that you made me this morning was absolutely tremendous and hit the spot for my scratchy throat. And it was just like my mom's chicken soup with the matzo balls. You didn't make the matzo balls, but that's okay. But that Jewish penicillin, that sopa de pollo was absolutely superb. And no huesos, no bones. Make no bones about that. But anyways, a huge shout out to my team of Chef Felipe, Chef Joaquin, and Pitiola Muhammad for holding down the fort with my great 1209 staff of John, Jen, Nicole, and Dennis. And also a shout out to the ubiquitous Emily, who's coming in at 3 o'clock to assist with quite a few customers. Call it about 40 people coming through the doors at Pearl Street this mid-afternoon. So thank you, Emily, for coming in early. And as I stated earlier, it is season number 2 and show number 4, and it's an absolute honor and pleasure to be on WATD in the slot of the Boiling Point with Arthur Boyle. Arthur is my executive consultant of the Paul Ponders radio show, and we'll actually be hearing from Arthur. He'll be calling in at about 12:45, so we'll get to hear from Arthur and see what's happening in Pembroke. It'll be good to hear his voice on air. Now, Arthur has introduced me to Kathleen Keegan, Realtor, K. Keegan Realty, and the creator of a local Pembroke newsletter, and she really shows her expertise and enthusiasm. We'll be having Kathleen on in the next week or two, and Kathleen's husband is Major Sean Keegan of the Select Board in Pembroke. So hello to them and all. And with us behind the glass is Tim, and Tim is getting Shelley on the line, but we'll hear from Tim very shortly. We'll talk about the lane drop dance. And really, the traffic coming down from the Malden Medford area was not bad at all. And I don't know if it's because a lot of people are away or they're still at home, whatever, but traffic really wasn't bad. So with us behind the glass is Tim. Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon. Happy New Year, Paul.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. And did you have anything going on around the New Year celebration?
Oh, yeah. We stayed up, watched the ball drop, and saw some great performances on TV. Diana Ross being one of them.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, she...
Unbelievable.
Oh, the queen of Motown.
The diva.
Although, I think Martha Vandella... excuse me, that's not her last name. But anyway, Martha and the Vandellas, and maybe some others might debate that, but...
This is true.
Whatever.
Well, we'll have to get Ron
We'll see what
Dwyer.
Barry Gordy says.
Exactly. You're right. Exactly. We'll have to see that. Have you ever seen Motown the musical on stage?
No, I haven't, but I'll have to look for it.
It really is a great production. I don't know if it's going to be coming back to the Broadway in Boston. The area, whether it's in Boston or out in Worcester, but I'll tell you, it's a great production, and it really just gives a great history of Motown, Barry Gordy, and all the great performers.
Yeah. Speaking of great histories, it was on Amazon Prime, but I don't know where it went, but there was this great documentary called Standing in the Shadows of Motown. And it was all about the Funk Brothers, who were behind a great majority of the hits that you know and love. But you may not have heard them sing, but they were on the drums and everything else you heard. And it's really nice. Chaka Khan's on it.
Really?
She talks about, she even performs with the Funk Brothers, and I think it's Levi Stubbs' son or grandson performs with them as well, and he's a vocal-wise striking resemblance to his dad. It's great stuff. Again, it's called Standing in the Shadows of Motown.
I am writing this down.
Yeah.
So Standing in the Shadows.
Yeah, it's all about the Funk Brothers. I mean, they gave you those backbeats. Barry Gordy found them in the jazz and blues clubs around Detroit and said, hey, come work for me. Mm-hmm. And they'd try stuff in the clubs at night, and then they'd go in the studio and try and sneak it into their recordings. And of course, Barry, here's something. He'd stop, but whoa, wait a minute. What was that? Do that again. And that's how the magic happened. It's great stuff.
I'm going to have to check that out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, on New Year's Eve, you had that tribute show to Greg Biffle. How did that go?
It was a fantastic show. Alan Bestwick gave a great interview, and it was really nice. Again, bittersweet, but it had to be done, and I'm glad that we had a platform to do it on here at the station. You know, elsewhere around here, the sports stations in Boston, nothing against them, but I don't think they would have covered it in depth as we did.
That's great. Well, maybe that's a possible nomination for a featured news story. Maybe.
Possibly,
We'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Because WATD has won so many great awards in years past and yesteryear. I think that's something that we should look at submitting.
Yes,
really.
I'll mention it to Miles, and he can ponder it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Now, is that available on YouTube or anywhere we could find that?
It will be. I don't know if it's up yet, but what is he? Professor NASCAR. Ben Bennett is in charge of posting things. So, but go on YouTube and search for Miles on Motorsports, and it will be posted on the page if it hasn't been already. And also, stay tuned to the Miles on Motorsports Facebook page, and you'll find a link to it there.
Okay, I'm going to use that as a segue. And two things. First of all, before I lose the thought, Scott Albertson from Project 142 sends his regards.
Oh, hey, Scott.
He was at Pearl Street Station last night. He had a nice dinner with Bob Hilberg and his wife Millie and Linda Amato from Malden. And Scott made it all the way up from Connecticut. And he said, "How is Tim behind the glass?" And I said, "He is doing fabulous. He's doing great." So Thursday night, I recorded a few podcasts with Techie Talonzo Amos, and his call to order was, when are we getting Tim behind the glass on a podcast? So anyway, the reason why I mention this now is because if we were to pick a date after when I'm off air, we'll pick a date for you to record. And maybe if you would feature Greg Biffle and maybe talk about that and talk about Miles and your history here at the station, but also just really elaborate. And there's another platform for you to really tell a great story.
Okay.
How does that sound?
All right.
Okay, I'm getting an acknowledgement here. I'm getting a definite maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't met Tim, Tim is very unassuming, and he just does a wonderful job. 25 years here at WATD, and he really does a great job keeping me in line and keeping so many things in order here. And I want to thank you again, Tim.
Oh, you're welcome, Paul.
Absolutely, and we are going to get you up to Pearl Street Station Restaurant for the karaoke, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yes.
And we'll
and possibly some other ATD members here.
That's a fact.
We all have some kind of song in our heart.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Indeed. That's a hashtag indeed. Well, at this point in the program, we're going to have the Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Toolbox segment with Techie Talonzo Amos and Ms. Shelley Wolf, global media firm owner of Toolbox Entertainment, Vice President of Technology Literacy for Pod Pro Entertainment, a past Paul Ponders guest, episode number 35. And Shelley will also be talking about a new feature with her techie tips of the Myth of the Week. So, Shelley, I hear you're on the line.
Hi, Paul. Yes, I'm on the line. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Everything going well today?
Everything is going well. I've been enjoying the Motown conversation. You know, I had a chance a couple years ago to actually see Diana Ross myself. And if you have never seen her live, go see her live. I know she's out on tour right now, and it is anything beyond you could ever imagine. She literally changes her outfits like 3 or 4 times. She doesn't stop. Her voice sounds still amazing. Highly recommend. And I think Martha Reeves would actually be pretty happy with her. So
thank you, Reeves. Thank you, Shelley. Yes.
Yes. So gotta love the Motown music. But thanks for that. Also, that recommendation there, Tim, for the Standing in the Shadows, because I want to check that out myself.
Oh, you're welcome.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, Shelley, I did post a couple of your past podcasts, tips on the PSNL Marketing Group blog. I did do that, so that I was timely this week in doing that and all, but you are just so delightful. I get lots of emails and phone calls about you being the highlight of the show and the backbone of the show, and people really look forward to your segment. So I thank you, and we're off to a great start in 2026.
Yes, we are. So today we are going to run with that. And before I do, just again, thank you to all our listeners out there. It's really important to, it's always nice to hear that, but it's also important to be able to give this message out there and give some tips that are going to create some stress-free opportunities for us. So today we're going to talk about what it means to understand that 2FA, or what they call authentication. So I also have a hard time saying it, so I'm just going to call it 2FA.
There you go.
As we move into this new year, right, there are so many of us seeing these constant messages around like that seem unsettling. You must enter your 2FA now. Security requirements have changed. Your account's going to be locked out if you don't update by a certain date. If that language makes you nervous, you are not alone. Today's tech tip is here to slow you down and explain what's really happening, and that 2FA, what it is in plain English. Most importantly, how we set it up in a way that's going to work without getting us locked out of our devices and making us feel overwhelmed. So why is it here and why is it right now? Companies are continuously trying to strengthen their security methods, right? Increasing scams are happening, stolen passwords are happening, data breaches, account takeovers, which is all these reasons why we give these tips so that people are not being compromised. So when you are logging into your account, instead of asking for something like a password, now they're asking you for an actual device. You know, do you want to use your phone? Do you want us to text you? Do you want us to call you? This isn't something that you should be suspicious about. This is about protection. So when you think about it, think of it as upgrading like from that basic lock to a deadbolt. Not because you're in danger, but it's guaranteed that this is prevention actually works. So now, exactly what is 2FA? It's easy. Authentication just means you enter your password, and then you confirm that it's really you. The second step might be a text message code, a phone call, a pop-up approval, or a fingerprint or face scan. Simple analogy. Your password is the key. The 2FA is the second lock. Even if you were guessed, even if someone is trying to get into your account and they don't know your password, they cannot get in without your approval. So that is why this is important. So there's 2 different types of 2FAs. There's text message codes. Best for most of us out there. First, you get a code that's sent directly to your phone. Familiar and easy, and there's no extra apps that are needed. This is often the best starting point. However, there are also the phone call verifications. Some services will call you if you select that you want them to call, and they'll read you a code out loud. This is excellent for those who might have prefer the hearing instructions. However, you need to be prepared to write it down. And why is that? They're only going to repeat it 2 times, and then they're going to hang up. So if you miss it, you won't have it, and you can't call back. So you want to think about that. So I'm always the believer of, go for the text. Now there's another third option, which is your biometrics. Given a fingerprint, a face ID, very secure, fast, and there's no codes to remember. This is great if your phone already supports this, but the big issue about this is that you are giving up your personal bodily features to lots of people out there, and you don't know what they're doing with those. So whether it's the fingerprint, your face recognition, those sorts of things, you want to use that, I personally think, as your very last option, even though it's probably the most secure because no one's going to look like us. But that to be said, there are also things called authenticator apps that we want to think about. Again, these are optional, not required. They're secure. They take a lot more steps, and they are great for helping. There's things like Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, You could use something like Authy or Duo Mobile, all user-friendly stuff. Some of them do have costs. Or you could use password management tools, 1Password, Bitwarden, some of those. Those are great. I'm not a fan. It takes a lot of work because you got to have signed in, you got to have them connected to your devices. And why is that also important and something to think about? Not everyone has a device. You may only have one device. You may not have 3 computers or a laptop and a computer or an iPad and an iPhone. So you want to think about, what do I have to do if I only have one device? So if that one device is my phone, the best option is really choosing a text or phone call. Add a backup email that you can access, again, on that phone, or you could go to a cafe and get on a shared computer and log into your email to get it. But, again, you need to be able to get in right away if you're trying to get in and use these. So save up backup codes on a piece of paper. Tell a trusted friend where those are stored. You do not need multiple devices to be safe. You just need a backup plan. So, which is going to lead us to our tech myth of the week, which is, if I turn on 2FA, am I going to be locked out of everything? And the truth is, most lockouts happen only because people rush or skip their backup steps, not because of the 2FA itself. So when you set it up slowly and correctly, 2FA actually prevents lockouts caused by hacking. So again, different ways to avoid it is write things down, create a small, what I'll call tech safety notebook or a folder, write it down, which accounts have 2FA, which methods you've chosen, where the backup codes might be stored. Now, remember, when you're doing 2FA and they send you a code, that code can only be used one time. This is smart and not outdated. However, what you want to also remember is that when you're storing these important documents, do not save them in your phone notes or email, especially if you're writing the word password. I think we've talked about this before. Never use the word password in an email, in a document that you save. It is the most searched word when it comes to hacking your materials. So you want to be very careful. And last but not least, you may ask for help. Have someone that you trust sit with you while you set this up. Watch them, you go through a successful login. Help test it once. Technology is best when it's shared, not struggled alone. So, I know Arthur has asked us in the past, sometimes it might be embarrassing to ask, young kids make fun of us because we don't know what we're doing. But, tell them we need to understand this and we're trying to learn. So as we go through these steps today, again, think about starting with your email, your financial backups, and your shopping accounts, all that social media. Again, it's really easy just to create your readiness checklist with a phone number and a backup email. Choose the simplest method that works for you. Write down what you've set up and save those backup codes on some paper. So for this week, pick up one account, again, your email or a bank account, to make sure the 2FA is turned on. Take your time, write the things down, save your codes, and have a calm, careful setup process that prevents you from having problems later. So that's what I've got for a new year and new projections.
Wow. Well, that is all awesome stuff. But I have to ask the question. I'm going to be a negative Nelly here, which I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 2FA. Do you think there will be a 3FA down the road?
The scary part is, unfortunately, I do believe there will be a 3FA down the road. The sad part and the hard part about that is what the people putting this into place, the challenge is not everyone has more than one device. So that leads us to, how do we do a 3FA? I do think what is really going to happen is at some point we will be forced to biometrics no matter what, period.
Wow. Do you have
That's my prediction.
Do you have a guesstimate on what time frame? Are we talking years, 5 years, 2 months? What are we talking?
I wouldn't be shocked if that came within the next year and a half.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yikes.
We have the thing that is interesting and scary through all of this with technology is we, as humans, are the ones actually giving up all of our information, making it easy for hackers. So, right, we got to blame the hackers because they're the ones taking advantage of us. But at the same time, hackers really prey on our innocence, right? We're just trying to share. We're just trying to, we want to provide information and have fun and, but when we have like all these social media sites and we share passwords, like I find people at work will share their passwords with their colleagues, and I'm like, okay, well, the whole point of a password is, right, you're protecting yourself. So, I see people give up their addresses, their phone numbers on social media, and it's like, so we've given out the information, unfortunately. Again, all those click-throughs that you're doing, if you have one device that you've given that information. So, for example, here's a great example. Like when you set up a Google account, you have to put in your birth date, your name. You can optionally choose to put in your address, right? So if you've put in any of those pieces of information anywhere like that and you do one of those click-throughs, it's actually grabbing all of that information, right? So you may not have typed it out there like, hey, Joey, here's my address, but by clicking through something, it's pulling all of that information. So when that's happening, what you want to think about is, again, don't click through those. Go to the direct website themselves, log in, because all of those are websites that are literally scanning for your information.
Yikes.
Yeah. So the only way we're really going to get around it, like I said, is biometrics. But now you're giving it up to everybody in the government and all that. And not that they don't already have that. I mean, right, when we're born, they take our fingerprints from day one. So, but you got to think about, you got to think about what does that look like down the road.
Right.
So I know
Seriously.
traveling, like they just scan your face now and you walk through and boom, here you go. You are, you can go through because I scanned your face and I recognize who you are. And that's a whole nother level of authentication. So.
Wow. Well, Shelley, I thank you again. And how do our listeners in Paul Ponder's land get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can reach us at info@podproentertainment.com.
That is fabulous. Well, again, Shelley Wolf, I thank you so much. Another great segment, and we'll be posting these tips on the PSNL Marketing Group blog in the near future. And I wish you a great 2026 and beyond, and we'll be in touch for next week.
Sounds great. Have a great week, and here's to a great 2026.
Hashtag indeed.
Hashtag imagine.
Thanks, Shelley. Bye now.
Bye.
Well, as Arthur Boyle says... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Paul, I hate to interrupt. We got a text line as we were talking with Shelley from one of our great listeners, Joanne in Middleborough. Good afternoon, Joanne. She was listening to our Motown discussion with Shelley, and she said, "Hi, Tim. I saw Standing in the Shadows of Motown in 2003 in the theater in Arlington."
The Regent Theater, probably, yes.
Okay. She said, "Great movie," and I forgot this, but there are only two Funk brothers still alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Joanne from Middleborough, Marlborough?
Yes, Middleborough.
Middleborough.
Yeah.
Joanne from Middleborough, I thank you for texting in and being a listener to Paul Ponders. And I think we had a conversation. I think you had called the studio once before, and I think you actually have some Malden roots. We know some people out in Malden. So I thank you, Joanne, for that great insight. So two of the Funk brothers are
still around.
Still alive.
Yes.
All righty. Well, thank you, and Happy New Year, Joanne. And as Arthur Boyle says, it's not time to make the donuts. It's time to pay some bills. So let's hear from our sponsors.
Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakesett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you. Have you tried Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryanttville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were 3 deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD, presented by Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus, where they have fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors. The call-in number here is 781-837-4900, or it's also a text line. Again, 781-837-4900. And Joanne from Middleborough, thanks again for texting in. And you could also find us on the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. And if you like my daughter Ann in California, hi Annie, how you doing? And my cousin Bruce Bennett, the founder of the Poison tribute band Shot of Poison, down in Florida, he's listening in on the Odyssey app. Please download that app. It's a really great tool. And for those nonprofits out there, please reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com if you want to be featured on paulponders.com on the podcast, or even be part of the show. So that's paul@paulponders.com. Now, listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders and WATD shows. My last Paul Ponders podcast dropped this past Sunday night at midnight and Monday morning, and the episode was with Mr. Joe Paragona, author of Alan the Wrench children's book series. It was a great episode, and I met Joe through my dear friend PJ Sweater of Gotham Whale, and Joe's a great talent, and he really he opened up about his illustrious career in creativity. And really check out Alan the Wrench children's book series that's out there on Amazon. I want to say hello to our new listeners who I met at Pearl Street Station Restaurant last Saturday night. Kristen and Steve from Waltham. Had a nice chat with them on the ramp as they were getting ready to leave. And another new listener I met last night at the restaurant, his name is Stan Phillips, and shout out to him. We had a great chat about the successes of our children and what it's like to be a parent in this day and age. And it was a really great chat with Stan Phillips. So come on back to the restaurant. And also to our new listeners, I had a great visit with them in Medfield, but my dear friend, dear brother from another mother, John O'Connell, and his wife Ann and family. And it was a great visit I had with you in Medfield. And hello, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. Now, this part of the program, and we're running about a minute late, so I do apologize to our featured guest who's doing an awesome job on this health and wellness survival tip segment. Miss Sharon Filia is on the line. Sharon.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well, thank you. It's
Good.
such an action-packed day. Shelley's getting glowing remarks, and you are as well, Sharon.
My gosh.
And Sharon, you are getting really glowing remarks as well, and you've really just added a nice touch to our Paul Ponders radio show. So I thank you so much.
You. Of course. So today's topic is travel, health, and wellness tips. Now, generally speaking, you make an airline reservation and you say, oh, we're going to Florida, what kind of tips do we need as we go on the plane? And there are the generic tips. For example, if you're going long distances, say traveling from Boston to the West Coast, you wear compression garments. You try not to drink too much alcohol. You hydrate, those type of things. But today, what we're going to touch on is international travel and the importance of looking forward to see if you need any type of immunizations and perhaps prophylactically obtaining travel insurance to ensure your health and safety while traveling abroad. So most people, again, think they just book. Let's say you're going to take a safari to Africa. You think, I'll just book my trip and on we go. Well, not so fast. Depending on the area of the world, it's important to check an ongoing updated list by the State Department to ensure, to see if it's safe, if you need to be a little, careful, or if the State Department contradicts any type of travel to that area at all. So, for example, so maybe Iran or the Middle East right now may not be a great idea to travel to for United States citizens. But more specifically, if you're traveling to what are called developing countries, and this can include popular areas like Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, developing countries may have immunizations that are necessary to ensure your health and wellness while traveling. So let's go back to Africa. For Africa, generally speaking, you need immunizations for malaria, yellow fever, hepatitis A, tetanus. So if you're about to travel abroad and it is a developing country, you can contact your local medical facility and say, can you give me the phone number or the website for the travel area? So say Beth Israel. They have a whole area dedicated just to immunizing people that want to travel to developing countries. And generally speaking, you need to start between 6 and 8 weeks out from your travel date, because depending on the type of medications that you need, you may need to start taking, say for malaria, start taking pills a couple of months before your actual travel date.
So this isn't something that you really do like 2 weeks before, I have to get it, or I forgot to do it, right?
No, you must. Anytime you are traveling to a developing country, again, I'll give you a few examples. Brazil. And by the way, the information today is being culled from the Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, National Institutes of Health, the National Library of Medicine, and worlddata.info. So getting back to our developing countries, again, it can be something like Costa Rica, which is a very popular place, China, Cape Verde, Egypt, the Dominican Republic is a very popular place, Haiti, which right now is a little tenuous, Central America. For your listeners that have relatives that live in Central America, they may need to visit the travel office to see if they need any type of these immunizations. Liberia, any place in Africa, Indochina, Myanmar, any place like that, you just want to double check. Number one, the State Department list. Is it safe to travel right now? Or is it not? Or is it contraindicated? And if so, if you need any medications that will keep you protected. Being born in the United States, our gut is acclimated to the flora of the water systems here, the food. So when you travel to, say, Western Africa or something like that, your body may not be acclimated to that water. This happens quite often when people travel to Mexico. From what I understand, it's not even good to brush your teeth with the water because it can cause an issue. Also, India, even if you are an Indian American, if you were not born in India and you were born here, raised here, you drink the water here, even if you travel to visit relatives in India, even if you are Indian by your descent, you still may need to visit the travel office facility of your local hospital to get immunized, and perhaps not really eat, street foods or anything, open fruits, open salads, because your gut is not acclimated. Now, I was listening to Shelley talk about the biometrics. It's interesting. You have the option, and this is off topic, you have the option to opt out. So when they have that little camera in front of you and they say, okay, stand in front, let us scan your eyes, you can stand to the side and say, I'd like to opt out, and they must comply with that. I don't know if Shelley mentioned that, but I'd just like to add that in there. Also, again, when you're going to developing countries, you must make sure that you have what's called travel insurance. So let's say you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, Massachusetts, Florida, North Carolina, Arizona. That will not apply if you are abroad. So it is a good idea before you travel to obtain travel insurance while you are on your trip. So if you encounter an issue, hopefully, you don't break an ankle, you get ill, you have insurance to cover you, and you can feel safe.
Wow. This is absolutely very informative and insightful. It really is, and I'm learning so much here. Now, if just say we'll just get to the part about the biometrics and the scanning of the eyes. Do you think that when someone gets there and they say no, I don't want to, do you think that the TSA agents and customs will in fact just pull you off to the side and just cause a big scene?
Well, I've actually done this, so I can speak anecdotally. So when I say I like to opt out, they say okay. Because it is your right as a U.S. citizen to not participate in that. It's optional. Now, they say that your data is scrubbed as soon as you walk away. I don't know about that. I'm not that savvy about that procedure, about that protocol. However, especially for your listeners, if they don't feel comfortable having their eyes scanned, they can absolutely say, I want to opt out. Additionally, you don't need to walk through the body scanner. I actually do this all the time. You can say, I want to opt out of walking through the body scanner. And they must comply. And if you're a woman, as I am, they have to have what's called a female opt-out. So if you opt out, they will assign a female TSA agent to pat you down. If you are a male, they will assign a male agent to pat you down. So you don't need to go through the body scanner either. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So insightful. Insightful. Sharon, unbelievable. Well, Sharon, how do our listeners in Paul Ponders Land contact you?
Oh, well, you can get me through my YouTube channel, The Fill Your Fall Prevention Method, or, of course, you can reach out to Paul Ponders. I don't have all the information, but I like to give an overview of, I think, salient topics that may affect your viewers. And one of them is international travel. Never take travel for granted. Just really protect yourself, protect your family, even if you're going on a cruise. Pick up that additional travel insurance, especially if someone in your traveling party is ill. I had a family member that ran into an issue on a cruise ship and needed to be heliported off the ship. Now, if you pay privately, it can run into a lot of money. So again, if someone has a health issue, if you have health insurance and something like that happens, well, you're not going to pay, $30,000 for the helicopter ride, and it may just come in handy.
Truly. And also, Sharon, I'm looking at the blog post and all what I've been doing for Shelley with her insightful tips and all. But I would like to start getting your very helpful health and wellness survival tips on the PSNL Marketing Group blog. So we'll have to speak offline, and maybe I'll start accumulating whatever you've been presenting over the past month and a half.
Absolutely.
And all. You're up for that?
I'd be very happy.
Oh, that's awesome. So it'll be another resource for our listeners in Paul Ponders Land to, in fact, find out so much more. But you are a highlight of the Paul Ponders radio show, Sharon Filia, and I thank you. The Filia Fall Prevention Method, right?
Yes, thank you so much for having me yet again.
Absolutely.
A lot of fun.
Absolutely, Sharon. You make it a great rest of the day, and Happy New Year to you, okay?
Same to you. Happy New Year. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Be well now. Thank you. And now let's hear from our sponsors.
Have you tried Brianville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857. Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakesett Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you.
Are you looking for fencing and outdoor products? Look no further than Northeastern Fence and Supply Corporation of Saugus. When owner Mike Payne's customers have been asked why they chose Northeastern Fence, many said that there were three deciding factors: customer respect, excellent customer service, and quality products. I say that you need to add in 70-plus years of a family-run business with truly experienced sales and installation teams. So if you are in the market for fences for your kids, dogs, and ugly neighbors, please call Mike Payne and his crew at 781-233-3324 or email mike@northeasternfence.com.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. The call-in number and text line number is 781-837-4900. At this point in the program, we usually have the financial wing of Olympic Proportions, sponsored by PS&L Marketing Group and Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, with Mr. Paul Crowley of Riverworks Credit Union and Olympian and former Boston Bruins winger Dave Jensen, Senior Loan Officer of Riverworks Credit Union. Dave is feeling under the weather. He has that flu bug, and I hope Dave Jensen, if you're out there listening, I hope you're feeling better, my friend, and we'll catch up with you real soon. And Paul Crowley is busy with a few clients today, so he wasn't able to appear at this time. But I actually met Paul Crowley through our guest on the line, who's been very patiently holding on the line, the executive consultant of the Paul Ponders radio show, Arthur Boyle. Arthur, you're on the line.
Hi, Happy New Year, Paul. Good to hear your voice.
Happy New Year to you, Arthur, and great to hear your voice as well. So how are you today?
Good, thank you. And I get more credit than I deserve for when Paul Crowley is part of the show 20-some-odd years ago. But he's a great guy, and you knew he would be a great guy and would be a great businessman. And he's turned out to be all three. So
absolutely, he really has. He's had a great career as a financial analyst, as a mortgage originator, also working in the nonprofit world, and he really just adds a whole new perspective as to what is needed really to, in fact, be a mortgage officer and helping people out and all. So,
well, aside from Paul, is Ron Dwyer, who has been a great friend over the years, and some of the nicest people I've met have been met through WATD. So.
Oh, without a doubt. And a shout out to Coach Bill Wilhelm, who's hopefully listening today with his wife, Marsha. But I first encountered WATD years ago when you were co-host of the Sports Exchange. And I used to come down and used to bring that North Shore perspective. I think at the time I was working at Malden Catholic, and you were heavily involved with the show on Sunday nights. And I used to add that North Shore perspective, and I always remember the Duxbury Malden Catholic lacrosse games for maybe 4 years in a row.
Yeah, it was a great rivalry, and there still is some great rivalries on the North and South Shore that, they drive us crazy because we have, we have divided loyalties, I guess. We want Medford to lose the ball, and and you want to see Duxbury beat Malden Catholic, and it's just it's a lot of fun, and you meet a lot of guys that we played in their high school days, and
Well, I think back to the story you told me how you encountered someone who actually played for a team that your dad, the late Arthur Boyle, coached the Malden High and the Tech Turney teams, and this gentleman, I guess, played against Malden High, and he always remembered your dad.
Yeah, he remembered him as the guy who fixed his ankle with a short time to go in the game, and my father took the time to basically tape up the other team's player, who was the best player, and he won the hearts of the people, but they lost the game. And Dad would rather see the kids do well than the coach do well. So.
Absolutely, and along that theme, I owe text messages and phone calls to these two fine gentlemen, but it's one of those things that in past Paul Ponder's podcasts, I had two honorees of the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame inductees and an honoree, Coach John DiBiase, who received the special award, the Champ DeMarco Award. He won a Super Bowl with Catholic Memorial, and also Coach Al Finaro, who was one of our latest inductees, and I had them both as Paul Ponder's guests, and it's just so ironic. So congratulations to both Coach Finaro and Coach DiBiase on their Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, isn't that something that they both won the same year?
Absolutely, and they were both honored at the same dinner up at Anthony's in Malden, and it was pretty cool. We didn't have the escarole soup, the Scarola escarole soup like my mom used to make, but again, shout out to Chef Felipe for making a delicious Jewish penicillin today, the sopa de pollo, and all.
Yeah, well, you get around, so I have to trust you on what's good things to eat.
Absolutely.
And you've got a place in Malden on the North Shore that is great that you have run it for, it seems like forever.
Umpteen years now.
Yeah, so, I'm actually shilling here for you. For you advertisers, but I'm actually going from here to the Brianfield Pizza Kitchen to get roast beef sandwiches for the crew here. So,
that's awesome. I may have to sort of change my plans. I may have to meet you over there at Brianfield Pizza Kitchen over on Main Street, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Absolutely.
In Brianfield Center.
Yep, absolutely. Ken does a wonderful job. So if you're listening, I guess I'll be coming over, and Arthur will be coming over. You going to call in the order?
Yeah, I'll call in the order.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll see you over there after the show, Arthur. And everything else
is all the good people meet.
Yeah, there you go. Right, exactly. Sort of like the old Tees Pub in Boston, a great place to meet, right? Brianfield Pizza Kitchen, thank you for advertising, and also shout out to our other advertisers who you've gotten along the way for us: Pembroke Collision, Ben Bastianelli, and
Ben Bastianelli is an artist.
Yes, he is. Absolutely. He really does a great job, and Chrissy in his office is really great. And also, as we wind down, as we start to wind down, Arthur, anything happening in this first quarter in Pembroke that we should be aware of? Any initiatives, elections?
Oh, there'll be some elections coming in, the springtime. You'll have the usual, political, happenings, and it'll be fun, and it'll be nice to see spring again now that I'm rid of the snow, and it's blowing across the lake kind of nicely. It looks like a picture postcard.
Absolutely, a Norman Rockwell moment, right?
Yeah.
And how is Brother David doing as chair of the Pembroke School Committee?
He's doing well. He doesn't come to me for advice much, but we get along, and we do what's best for the community. David is a super guy, and I love him. He's my brother, and I try to give him my 2 cents when I think he wants it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than a former politician. And, when you're out, you're out. So,
well, you're there, Arthur, and you're still the answer to that trivia question: who is the only Massachusetts elected official to be elected to 4 different school committees, and that be you: Northeast Metro Regional Tech, Malden School Committee, Pembroke School Committee, and Silver Lake School Committee. So, Arthur, thank you so much for being the executive consultant of the Paul Ponders radio show, and I guess we'll catch up with you at Bryanville Pizza Kitchen.
That sounds like fun.
You got it. Arthur, thank you for calling in. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, Paul. Give my best to Ron Dwyer and Tim McKinney and the crew at WATD. This is some of the nicest people I've met through WATD.
Without a doubt, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Arthur. Bye-bye now. Now, I want our listeners to stay tuned to WATD for the Memories with Ron Dwyer, the grand poobah of oldies rock and roll. Ron, you are a true leader of the pack with great musical memories of yesteryear, so thank you, Ron. And I want everyone to keep on Paul pondering. Happy and healthy New Year. #Indeed.